not room for relations.
You haven't done that in a while.
Because I haven't been doing relations like that. But anyways,
Freudian slip.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 different podcasts, and so it's been a while since I've done that. Oh, no, that's not a room for relationship. Hey guys, welcome back to Between Sessions. My name is Eboni Harris.
And I'm Elisa Bokeen, and we are 2 brown chicks changing the face of therapy on both sides of the couch. Yes!
Yes! For the no tagline. Today we are joined by Sheralyn Littles, and she's going to help us talk about trauma and how that impacts us and what we need to do when there is trauma.
Right.
And stability in trauma.
Yes. Stability in trauma.
Yeah. Which people are saying, wait, what? Are you sure?
Can I do that? Is that possible?
Instability in trauma.
Right.
Yeah. So we're excited to dive in.
Yeah. But of course, we want to first start off with just what is, tell us more about your practice and how you're changing the mental health care for minority communities.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me this morning. Grateful to be here. I am Sheralyn Littles. I am a licensed professional counselor. Mm-hmm. I am also the owner of Growth and Wellness Counseling Center. And so,
yes,
the new.
Right, I just recently started that, so excited.
You've been in agency work for
about 3 to 4 years now.
Okay.
Right. And so before that, I did higher ed and college counseling and all of that. So now I'm transitioning into
entrepreneurship.
Yes, welcome to the dark side.
The ups and downs, the roller coaster.
Right. We're here to hold you as needed.
Thank you. The reason why I wanted to start my own private practice is to really connect with my clients on my terms. And so that my clients have that safe place where they can go live in their truth and heal from various different things that they've been through, especially within the minority community. Because we have, I think, of course, there's the stigma, like you guys always talk about, of mental health. You don't have to be crazy to go to counseling.
You don't have to be in crisis.
Right. You don't have to be in crisis.
Diagnosed mental illness.
Right. It does not mean you're crazy if you go to see a therapist.
Right. And I have a lot of clients, especially minorities, that deal with depression, anxiety, but they don't see how it's related to childhood trauma that they've never dealt with.
Right.
And currently they're being triggered by something. And so you got to identify, well, what is it?
Right.
That's presently going on, but can be stemming from something within your childhood, early adolescence, or even adulthood as well.
Yeah. Okay. So just recognizing that trauma continues to impact you throughout your life.
Yes.
And if you haven't dealt with it.
Right. Because a lot of us don't have the space to deal with it.
Right.
Within our circle of family, friends, different things, like they always hear what happens behind closed doors, stays behind closed doors, or everybody just sweeps it under the rug, fake it till you make it.
Right. We don't
when do we make it
as trauma?
Exactly.
Right. That's the part. Like I feel like a lot of us don't identify some of the things we went through as trauma. It's just like, oh, that's just normal.
It's okay to struggle.
Yeah, or understanding what trauma is.
Right.
I think we have 2 different things. People either, the word trauma gets overused, like, I didn't get in to get the right haircut. It was traumatic or something. Right. So we either overuse it or we don't really understand how trauma impacts us.
Right.
What it is and how you define trauma.
Yeah.
So I always tell my clients, trauma is anything that disrupts or changes your emotional state, your physical state, your behavior. It can be, and every person's situation is different because of how they were raised, different things like that. So one thing that could be traumatic for me may not be necessarily traumatic for the other person.
Right.
So even like you said, identifying were these particular events or situations in your life traumatic for you? Did they change the flow of how your day-to-day life went? Or, did they catch you off guard?
Right.
Did it violate your boundaries? Different things like that. And for a lot of people, it's the struggle of identifying that was traumatic.
Right.
And I didn't know it.
Right.
And so starting from there and moving forward.
Right. And even recognizing that, because sometimes it's just like, oh, you just dealt with it and you kept moving. But like you said, recognizing that might have been that shifting point or that turning point in your life where things, you started looking at things differently, handling emotions different.
Because that's one thing, people say, I don't want to live in the past and I don't want to go back. And I always tell my clients, well, when we're looking at previous events in our lives, it's not to relive the trauma in a negative manner, but to say, okay, I went through situation A, and as a result of that, I lack trust, or intimacy issues, or anxiety, depression. I isolate myself. Those various different symptoms of how it changed the course of your life, internally and externally as well.
And I like that you started off by saying that sometimes what may show up in the therapy room is anxiety, depression, anger. And really what's underlying that is the trauma.
So if someone isn't in therapy, or they're not necessarily, well, I guess, what are some signs that there is trauma in their past?
What, like, if somebody who's not a mental health professional and they're like, we just been through some stuff,
Everything is fine.
How would you? What are some symptoms, or what would be some concrete ways that they might identify? I may have some trauma that is kind of this residual effect that is now limiting my life. What might be some examples?
You don't want to go around your family. Like the avoidance of certain people, places, things. Codependency on your partner, on other friendships and relationships.
So what does codependency look like for someone who's not in mental health?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. No,
because I'm like, codependency.
Because some people might be like, I just want to be with them all the time. Like, what is the difference between codependency and interdependence?
Always looking for someone to validate you, give you direction in your life where you don't feel secure and safe within yourself to make those choices and then stand firm within your choices. Always kind of looking for that external thing, whether it's social media, your partner, your family, or kind of staying within the family norms of what's expected of you, or societal norms as well, not stepping outside of your box as well, because you are afraid of whatever. That fear is also another sign that something traumatic has happened to you as well.
And then some of the physical that can show up also, when trauma is, I think we talk about that a lot, is sometimes the responses that may happen when something trigger us become just these involuntary responses, So how our body shuts down even during trauma.
And even some simple things, like I have some clients that they can't go to the grocery store. Large crowds. If somebody, they're looking at a shelf, but somebody comes in from the side that even resembles their perpetrator, they run.
A hyper awareness.
Always being fearful that something is going to happen to you, to be re-victimized again, or have that same trauma happen to you again as well. So like you said, the physical hyperventilating, sweating,
and it can be something as simple as a color of a paint in a room.
That's what I was going to say.
Smell,
a sound, or a smell, something like that.
I had one particular client. It was the clock, tick, 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 tick. Because it brought her back to a moment where there was a sexual assault, that was very traumatic for her. So it's back to identifying what the trauma is, your individual triggers as well.
And it's always so interesting to me, because I think that's where we miss it first, is in the physical, because we can be disembodied, but
dismissive, or
It takes me back to this. Well, grandma used to make this, So being so aware of these triggers, I think, is so important.
And even those small, subtle things. I always, a lot of people hold their trauma like up here in their stomach. So I always just tell my clients, when you feel the anxiety rising, where do you feel it in your body? And they're like, what? What's happening? What's your physical because we go through life and we hold on to so many memories, thoughts, and feelings, and also those physical responses.
Right.
So I teach them about things like the body scan.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go, I didn't realize my shoulder has been hurting this whole time, or something like that, you know. And so we really have to get in tune with ourselves,
right? Because it's so easy to like be dismissive of pain, especially if just depending on your life and what you went through. But sometimes it's like, oh, that's not the big of a deal, it'll be okay, right? Or if it comes and goes, you're just like, oh, it'll go away in a minute, not even paying attention to what made it come though, like what's causing it,
what is prompting it.
I got this, it'll be all right. You know, I'm strong, I'm independent, all that.
And it's so easy to miss it too, because you know, I tell clients sometimes you might struggle to feel it, right? Because trauma can get disembodied us. So if you don't feel anything, like sometimes people can feel shame, like, well, I don't feel anything, right? So
embarrassment, that's huge. Shame and embarrassment, I feel like sometimes are the top two that I see within my clients, where they don't even want to talk about address it at all, because they blame themselves for putting, for being in that situation, allowing it to happen, not speak up, or whatever the case may be. So you even have to work through that initial response before you can get to the underlying stuff as well.
So when we talk about stability in trauma, like what does that even mean?
How do we stabilize when we're traumatized?
Well, I think as a therapist, the number one thing that I do initially is a lot of clients are coming in for one thing, and they don't realize that one thing is connected to something else. So it's even, first of all, identifying how committed are you to therapy, because I don't want to open you up and you hit the heels running. So I really have to identify what the therapy process is, what it embodies, how it's going to work, check in with me, that kind of thing first. Then throughout the trauma, I always tell my clients, it's not step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bam, you're done. I wish. But it's what's in your toolbox. What's going to help you heal, or what's going to help you cope while you're in the process of healing. You know, and I think you've talked about this before, developing your self-care routine and making sure that is solid. So if you know you have a crazy week with therapy, or you've had a crazy week prior, and some things that come to the forefront of your mind, simple things like making sure your meal preps are done, you know, making sure you have gas in the car, budget's done. What can you control? What can you control? That's your stability. You may not be able to control what your family is doing, some health issues, your friendships, jobs, you know, family, husband, kids, all of that stuff. But what can you control? What can you take off of your plate where you know that's done, that's handled? I can then 100% focus on the trauma that's before me, or now I'm ready to work on previous trauma, and sometimes both.
And you know, I like what you had said about sometimes people may feel like they're ready, right? And we've talked about this before, that with trauma, it's a very delicate process. It's kind of like what you were saying. It's not a 1, 2, 3, boom. It's a delicate process, and working through that. And really what you're highlighting is the first step is, how do you stay grounded, right? Like, how do you, learn to develop some of those skills that when you're going through this work, when you're processing, you're able to stay grounded.
And one of the first things that I ask, and kind of like my assessment with my clients, is, are your basic needs of life met? You know, do you have somewhere stable to live, job, finances, are all of those things secure? Because if you're worried about your light bill, childhood trauma is the last thing on your mind. You know, safety and stabilization is number one. And then once those two things are taken care of, then you can go, okay, I'm ready.
That's an awesome point, because I feel like especially when we're talking about minority communities, like we don't always put into context, like what else is going on around you, and how it may not be that I don't want to address it. It's just I have these other things that have to be addressed in this moment, so I don't have the space to address these things and get over and let go and all that kind of stuff when I have to focus on this other stuff. Yeah, and it's so easy to say like, oh, you just don't want the help, or you just don't want to, but it's like, no, I have other stuff going on. Yeah, that take priority,
because it's like if all of those things are done, and then you're moving into addressing your trauma, but you come in for one thing and then you realize, oh, well, wait a minute, I didn't realize this, this, and he's like, oh, I don't think I'm ready, or can I do this? So you have to be really concrete within self to know that I got me and I can do this for myself.
Right. And even to the point of, I guess, recognizing that there's something going on, right? Because if I'm struggling to pay my bills, if I'm struggling with other things that are immediate right now, then I might not even incorporate my reaction to past trauma. Right. I might just put everything on what's happening right now. And so until you get to a place of stability in those areas, it's going to be hard for you to identify, like, oh, crap, there's still something else going on. Right. To address.
Yeah, because if you're also having, like, financial issues, the inconsistency with a job for those basic needs of life, where does that come from? Is that because you don't have that self-confidence within self to take your career to the next level because you were put down as a child? You didn't have that space to have your inner voice where your parents supported you through that trauma. So it's all that connection together. As to why current things may not be going the way you want because they have a relation to past experiences.
Right. So what are some of your favorite resources?
Yeah. So there's a workbook. Get it on Amazon. It's the Complex PTSD Workbook. Okay. So it really talks about, like you said, what is trauma, the different types that you can, the avoidance, invasive symptoms, how to heal, different things like that. The Body Keeps Score is a great book as well. For my clients that are like, I don't read. There's a worksheet that I give to my clients. You can Google it. It's the 99 coping skills. And I always tell them when you're not in like an anxiety situation, go through that list, highlight, circle some things that you want to try. Reading a new book, finding a hobby, taking yourself shopping, the movies, different things like that. So when you're in a moment of high anxiety or depression, you already have a go-to. It's like be prepared before it gets to that point where you feel like you can't return.
Right. I think that's a big part of just a lot of therapy is like, yes, we help people when they're in crisis, but the goal is to get you the tools when you're not in crisis so that you can be prepared the next time crisis happens.
You don't go out to get the bread and the water when the hurricane is hit.
Right. You got to prepare ahead of time.
Beforehand. You can't go out at this time.
Exactly. It can happen at any time. Especially when, because a lot of clients will tell me, especially at that first, second session, that it feels like it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I always tell them, well, it's because a lot of the stuff that we discuss is, number one, things you've never shared with anyone. And some stuff you put back in your mind. And so all the emotions come back with that as well.
And that's such a good point, because I think, sometimes you'll hear people say, well, I feel worse after going to therapy. Well, you feeling the stuff that you wasn't trying to feel before, right?
Exactly.
And I've said it before, the healing process is what we're often thinking about is the healed version of ourselves. We're not thinking about the us in the process
to get there,
right? And that's why you have skilled clinicians like yourself who are prepared to be that anchor, to be that support until you're able to be that fully for yourself.
And I like what you said is that heal version, because I always ask my clients or have them define what does healing look like for you, because that's different for everybody. So you could be healed and don't even really know it. So to speak, right? So I had one client was like, huh? Like, you want me to what? What does it look like?
How do you know you got there?
Because you could get there and keep going and not even recognize it.
And is what you're, sometimes the goal is, well, I just don't want to think about it, or I just don't want it to, and it may be that you will continue to think about it in a way, but what we're doing is we're building that window of tolerance for you to be able to not bolt or to whatever self-sabotaging habits that at one point they were coping skills and it got you through, but now they're limiting you in life.
Exactly.
So you're building up that window of tolerance to sit with that discomfort. And it may be that, when terrible things happen to us, it's okay to be like, that sucked.
Right.
You know?
Right.
To not have any emotion with it sometimes, I think.
The confusion, like, why did that happen? How am I going to move on? And I always tell my clients, even the bad stuff has a purpose.
Sometimes people are not ready to hear that. That's the next level of healing.
Right. It may be 20 years from now you figure it out, but it has a purpose.
And then it can be part of your process in finding purpose in your pain. Right?
Purpose in your pain.
But there are levels to healing.
Of course.
Right?
And
when you're able to get there and recognize how that actually works in your favor.
Right. Because I always, it's unfortunate that a traumatic situation happened at the hands maybe of someone else.
Right.
But you, from that moment on, you have the right to put that power and control back into your life.
Right.
And I think that helps with self-love, right? Because sometimes it's hard to love what you feel is a result of something traumatic.
Right.
And so once you kind of accept, like, well, this could have helped you move into this direction, and this is why you're this type of person or passionate or whatever the case may be because of that. And while yes, that shouldn't have had to happen, it helped you move into this space. And so to love yourself means you kind of have to love what's happening to you as well.
Yep, exactly.
Which is difficult to do.
It's so difficult. One of my mentors and teachers will say that, like, the first level of forgiveness, which for me is synonymous with healing, is you forgive the other person, you kind of let go. And then, the next level is where you're able to kind of thank that happened for you. It's like, woo, that's that next level. That's that enlightened stuff.
Because I'm not thankful right now.
Right.
No.
But I do think that, there are people that I've where it's not, they're not happy that it happened to them, but they've been able to say, wow, because, like you said, because that happened, I'm now this person.
Right.
That's given me a different level of compassion for others. And so awesome. Those are goals.
Yes.
Right? Next level. That's next level goals.
Yeah.
Right. Let's work on just letting it go.
Let's forgive first, and then we can work on
the brighter side of it.
What's helpful.
Which is possible.
It is possible.
It's possible. It is possible. With a lot of work.
Right. Lots of work. Yeah.
In therapy and outside of therapy.
So many paths to healing.
Yes.
So why do you think therapy is dope?
I'm glad you asked that question. That has a meaning behind it. So I was drinking coffee out of the Therapy is Dope mug one day. And someone goes, "Dope? Are you selling?" And I'm like, "Oh, no. No, here we go." But, I think it's also because, like, the mug, it's an attention grabber. It makes, like, what do you do as a therapy? Why is therapy dope? Why does it have that negative stigma attached to it? Because it makes you a better person.
Right.
It takes you to that next level of healing. And then within the minority community, a lot of people use that lingo to express something for a positive perspective.
Sure.
So I think that's why therapy is dope.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what makes you a dope therapist?
Because I've been through that next level of healing. I've always said that I became a therapist because I know that everything that I've been through in my life was not for me. It can't be.
I don't want it to be.
Right. It has to be to help somebody.
Right. So, like you said, when I sit on that side of the couch, I can identify with my clients and go, "Oh yeah, I know what that's like," and mean it, not from no textbook, or, a class that I sat in, but from my own personal experience. And then I also know what it's like to go through those traumatic situations and feel alone. And not feel like you have one person in your corner that say, "You got this. It's gonna be okay. It's possible," And so those are my top two as to why I became a therapist.
That's
you
why I
are
love
dope
that.
therapist.
Yes.
Yeah. Own it.
Own it. I am a dope therapist.
You are a dope therapist. Thank you so much for being here
Thank you.
and for your continued support because you're
You've
another
been
one of
a
the
day
people.
one. She's been a day
one.
You were sitting in Oakwood.
With me and Jane.
Yeah,
Yes.
like Jane invited me. I was like, well, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Let everyone know how they follow you and keep in touch with you.
Okay, so right now I'm just starting.
Yeah.
So you can find me, of course, on the Melanin Mental Health Directory.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, like Good Therapy, Psychology Today as well, and contact me. Because I'm in the Woodlands.
Instagram?
Oh, yeah, sorry. The Instagram is Growth and Wellness CC.
Awesome.
So you can follow me.
Ampersand? No, you can't do
No, I think
ampersand.
it's-
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
We will
And
definitely
you are-
put that in show notes.
Your practice is in the Woodlands?
Right, in the Woodlands, Texas,
Yeah.
on Fridays for right now.
Okay, we're going to
Yes.
get you there full time.
Right.
Thank you guys so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thanks
for
everyone.
watching, everyone.
Yes, thank you for watching.
All my
Make sure-
family and friends.
Hey, family friends.
Support me, Sheralyn. Make sure that you follow Melanin and Mental Health across social media at Melanin and Mental Health, Melanin Health on Twitter. Go to melaninandmentalhealth.com to find a dope therapist like Sheralyn.
And your therapy is dope mug.
And get your therapy and dope
Yes.
mug and shirt and the new shirts we just put up, which is like boundaries is self-care. And I'm Afro, I'm Latinx, and I exist.
Yes.
So make sure y'all go check out our merchandise. We're adding new merchandise every week. And I think that's it.
Yay, thank
Woo!
you.
Bye.
Thank you.